So Obama equals Carter plus LBJ plus Nixon. Carter, of course, a disaster in terms of economics, energy, and a whole series of things. LBJ, the debacle of the Vietnam War. The word in Washington now is Afghanistan is an endless war, 5 to 10 years, dubious outcome. The most you can hope for is that it becomes like Chad, another form of failed state. You're fighting to make sure that it's one form of failed state or another. It is Obama's Vietnam. Now, it means, therefore, that the obvious way to challenge Obama in the Democratic Party presidential primaries is to do it on Obama the warmonger, Obama the butcher, Butcher Barkey, bailout Barkey. He is escalating the Afghanistan war. This is an exercise in futility. Ask the British Empire, ask the Soviet Union. This is simply impossible. And in addition to that, we've got all the stuff about, the no-knock. We've got preventive detention. That was another big one for Nixon, right? Throwing people in jail with no habeas, no due process. Obama wants that too. So Obama equals Carter plus Johnson plus Nixon. He's got the worst of all three. Now, whether the Democratic Party is dead, moribund, and a dead duck will now be shown, because what you've got to do if you want to have a presidential campaign, you've got to assemble it starting basically now or in the next 6 months. You've got to put your presidential machine together in 2010, and then you got to hit the ground running at the beginning of 2011, because then you got 1 year to Iowa and New Hampshire. And I may be a little bit ahead of the curve here, but that's where you've got to be. Dear Democrats, dear opposition Democrats, if you thought that Carter had been shocked and crippled by the challenge of Senator Ted Kennedy in 1979 to 1980, it is now very likely that Obama will also get a challenger, if only on the basis of the warmonger issue, as well as the dictatorship and related issues. So whether this whole area, the left wing of the Democratic Party, whether this is now moribund and gone and rotten and decadent beyond all saving, this is what we're now going to see. I would say that the survival of the country depends on the quality of a left wing, and it's moderate left, right? Not the loony, tree-hugging, cap and trade, not this Malthusian garbage, but pro-labor, pro-third world, traditional New Deal, moderate leftism. This is what we're going to need, because that's the kind of stuff that can get you out of the depression. Your right-wingers, of course, can do a lot of damage to Obama, but with them the depression gets worse and worse and worse, because then we're going to have the Austrians, the Chicago, the hedge fund hyenas. We're going to have Mitt Romney, in effect, the asset-stripping hedge fund hyena in the White House. So to go from Obama to Mitt Romney, that will not be progress. There must be a New Deal alternative. That's the big thing that is missing. The only body of economic policy that has proven its ability to work, no matter what lunatic fantasies about history that we're now getting dished up by these right-wing characters. They are rewriting history like mad, in the dark, upside down, and backwards. So that's what you're going to need. So Democrats, time to think about that, and also forces, in the general vicinity of the Democratic Party, capable of acting, projecting into the Democratic Party. Now, in terms of the crisis of the Obama regime, interesting tensions are developing. Interesting article here by Jim Hoagland, Washington Post, Sunday, July 12th. White House fault lines. And we're told that the fault lines are between the czars in the White House, and of course Obama has now got more czars than the House of Romanov, and the cabinet secretaries, because the idea is that Obama wants to have a collection. It's actually a gaggle of extremists, environmental extremists, all kinds of nutcases. One guy says he's a former communist. We've got this John Holdren, the White House science advisor, is a certifiable genocidalist. He's got this book called Eco-Science, where he wants to sterilize people. There ought to be a big campaign against this monstrosity of having the anti-science mob, the obscurantists in the person of John Holdren, as White House science advisor. Remember all this stuff about how Bush was anti-science because he He didn't support global warming and so forth. Holdren is basically preaching genocide from the White House. He says it's time for de-development. It's time to essentially wipe out a large part of the world's population. This guy, John Holdren, is a big target. But generally speaking, the problems arise when you have the czars in the White House fighting the cabinet secretaries. And the key one, of course, is Hillary Clinton. I reported before that on the day that Hamid Karzai and Zardari of Pakistan came to the White House, there was an attempt, reportedly by Holbrooke, to exclude Secretary of State Hillary Clinton from the meeting. She threatened to resign on the spot. And at that point, the opposition collapsed. We're now told that there's more fighting, this time between Rambozo Emmanuel, the dead fish purveyor, right? That guy is a recipe for friction. If you didn't have fault lines in an administration, this odious Rahm Emanuel will make sure that they're there. So here's what we find, that Hillary wanted to install Joseph Nye. This is not a good choice, but Joseph Nye, the king of the soft power clique, wanted to make Hillary wanted to make Joseph Nye the ambassador to Japan, but Rambozo Emmanuel and Obama came in and said, no, 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 we monopolize all the ambassadorships for our fat cat contributors and campaign bundlers. This was widely attacked under Bush, that you would take total incompetence and put them in key foreign embassies simply on the basis of the money. And everybody wants London, and everybody wants Paris, and everybody wants Rome. And after that, you take what you can get. So this seems to be it. We're also compared. Holdren usefully compares. He said, remember how Zbigniew Brzezinski used to fight Cyrus Vance under Carter? Yeah, that's right. Looks more and more like Carter in that respect. Look at Colin Powell fighting with Rumsfeld. Well, that's also relevant. But now it's going to be Hillary against Rahm and against the White House, the clique in the White House that actually runs things. Rahm Emanuel, David Axelrod, Robert Gibbs, and Dennis McDonough, the message commissars of the regime now. The other big tensions are with the Pentagon. One thing is that Robert Gates is demanding the end of the F-22. Now, this is a complicated issue. I would say it would be good to take those high-tech assembly lines of the F-22 and preserve them and gradually retool them for the kind of stuff we're going to need for aerospace, for going to Moon and Mars with colonization, exploration, colonization, and industrial production in space. That's what we really need. But in the meantime, you got to keep it there, right? So, of course, Robert Gates and these Wall Street guys, they just say, we're going to asset strip it, and that will be the end of that. Now, that is dangerous. That you don't want to do. And naturally, the designers of the F-22 have made sure that there's a piece of the F-22 in so many states and congressional districts. This is shaping up as something like the Carter Water Projects campaign. Carter began to poison his relations with the Congress right about now in the first year of his first administration. Read all about it in Obama, the Postmodern Coup, by cutting off key water projects in many of their districts. And this is now the F-22. The F-22 means jobs all across the U.S. Obama and Robert Gates, who served under Carter, want to shut this down. They're going to have a fight with Congress over this. They're going to have a fight with the Pentagon. The other big thing is this question of the Afghan command. We had General McKiernan, the military bullet head. Remember him? Four-star general bullet head, who was commanding in Afghanistan. He was ousted in a very brusque and insulting manner by Gates. And this is now causing grumbling at the Pentagon. We'll get back to the grumbling at the Pentagon in just a minute.